good morning, Kelowna. And, Ken, I always say what a beautiful day it is.
Yeah.
Well, today I'm telling you the truth. It's a beautiful day out there. Holy mackerel. It's just gorgeous.
Yeah, it's lovely. I can see that sun just shining on the hillside. It just looks great.
The sun. Yeah, the sun's good. Yeah. I'm becoming a sun worshiper, Ken.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's there. You can see it. I worship the sun.
Well, it's nice,
Anyway.
Cheers people up, it seems to.
Let's do a sunny thing and do the tips and plants of the week.
You betcha.
Well, my tip of the week is, don't forget, the greenery is opening for the season 9 a.m. Friday, February 26th.
Wow, that's early.
It's
Sounds early this year.
They're jumping the gun a little bit, I think. Well, they're not. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
In fact, they're going to tell us what they're doing because they're going to phone in at 9 o'clock today.
Oh, cool.
Give us a chat.
Awesome.
The greenery is opening for the season 9 a.m. Friday, February 26th. Now, plant of the week. Vitellophus.
Vitellophus? What?
The ivory palm, Ken. It's nothing to do with the Okanagan. But about 20 years ago, at Home Hardware, they had these nuts, these brown big nuts. They were about big brown nuts. And they called them ivory nuts.
Right.
And they were 25 cents a piece. And I bought 20 of them or something like that.
Oh.
Gave a few away. And then these others got stashed in a drawer, and I pulled them out the other night. Man, do they make beautiful jewelry. They are ivory.
I thought you were going to say you planted them.
No. When I thought about that, but I don't think they grow. You cut into them, and it's like inside, it's like ivory.
Ooh.
And you can carve and everything, and I'm going to make some jewelry out of it.
Ooh, I got to see that. Well, that sounds like a really cool plant. I also have a tip on a plant this week, and my tip of the week is that whenever you're working around trees, or if you have a tree in your yard, always just avoid driving over the root systems. Tree roots are very shallow. They're right near the surface of the soil, and they really don't appreciate people driving on them with vehicles. It breaks, cracks, and damages those roots, and then they often become infected by fungus diseases, and then the tree slowly dies a gradual death over about 10 years or so, and it's not a pleasant thing, so just don't drive over tree roots. They need them to survive. All right, my plant of the week this week is the Monstera delosia Thai constellation, which is one of the more beautiful tropical plants that you can have in your house. We used to call them split-leaf philodendrons in the old days, and now they're monsteras. And they're just a super easy plant to grow, but not always easy to find. And there's several of these variegated forms that are becoming, I'd say, highly sought after. And this particular one, called Thai Constellation, is one of those ones that people would really love to get their hands on. So you never know. Maybe they have them at the greenery there. We'll find out. All right, so that's my tips and plants for this week. Remember to check growercoach.com and check in this upcoming Wednesday afternoon, 1 o'clock. We're having our webinar on composting and garden health. So check that out.
Ken is letting it rot.
Letting it rot.
Let it rot. Let it rot. Let it rot. We could write a rock and roll song about that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, 250-862-2525 to get through to us today. It is The Garden Show. We answer your gardening questions every Saturday morning, and that's what we do. That's because we love to do it. And Ken and I have been working in horticulture now for many, many years each. We all both started very young, and now I'm long in the tooth. Ken's semi-long in the tooth. Mm-hmm. I call you semi-long.
Yeah, that's nice. That's the secret to staying young is hang around with older people.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry, Don, but you're in that category.
That's funny.
Love hanging out with you,
That's
man.
Funny. It's real funny, Ken. No, I remember I was in my late 30s,
right,
and I spotted a little gray hair coming out of my beard.
Oh, yeah.
And I went, oh, my goodness, what's going with that?
What's
so
on
I
with that?
Promptly yanked it out.
Ouch.
What's with that? A gray hair in my beard. Out it goes. And then not long after, another couple show up. And before you know it, I had this cluster of gray hairs.
Yeah, in one spot.
So I thought, okay, well, I'll just shave that side off. So, well, both sides. So I became a goatee guy.
Yep.
Right?
Went from the beard to the goatee.
So, but I noticed once I started getting a little gray in my beard, people respected me more. instead of when Dad would, I'd stand there answering a gardening question, and just thoroughly with a customer.
Yep.
My dad would walk into the room. The customer would just,
Stop.
without saying excuse me or anything, just turn his head and say, "Oh, Ernie," and he'd ask him the same question.
Same question, yeah.
And of course, I had to jump in there to make sure we didn't get the two conflicting answers.
Well,
right?
yeah,
But
of course.
anyway, but then after I started getting gray in my beard, bingo, people just listened, right?
That was it. The world shifted.
But then as time went on, I had way more gray than black, and then now it's pretty much all gray, except when I'm growing out my sideburns here. And I'm noticing there's some black hairs in my sideburns.
Yeah,
it's just the opposite of what happened 40 years ago. It's the same. It's just the opposite.
You're just not growing them long enough. That's the problem. See, if you grow them long enough, eventually they turn black. So, you just need those nice, like mutton chops. What do they call them? Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
This is not the barber show. This is the garden show. So let's get on. Let's get on with it. The days are sure getting longer now, Ken.
Yeah.
We're well into 2 hours longer than the shortest day. We're actually 2 hours and 22 minutes longer than it was on that 22nd of December.
Yeah.
So it's really
Awesome.
nice. I mean, look at the day out there, and we're warming up now. I mean, don't put the tomatoes out yet. That's not, we're not
we're
quite
several
there yet.
months away from that.
Yeah, we're not quite there yet. But I got a tomato plant in the greenhouse right now.
Yep.
It's standing 2.5 feet tall. It's got its first bloom on it.
Wow.
So my spring tomatoes are coming on.
Yep.
I've been having fun with that greenhouse. There's no question about it, Ken.
Yeah, I think a thing to note, and I can't remember what it was. Maybe that was my tip last week. Was not to get going too early on certain things unless you have the proper facilities. So when it comes to tomatoes, they certainly they don't take long to grow. Like by the time they shoot up, it's only about 3 weeks, and they're already a couple 3 inches high, and good to grow on. So I always find just the beginning of April is fine for starting tomatoes, and because we really don't put them out till around the end of May anyway. So you've got plenty of weeks, plenty of weeks to go to get to a decent sized plant. And as we've talked to many people, and Dominic when he's called in, and I think a lot of the growers, they aim at that beginning of June. First week of June is when they start planting them out. And there isn't really any advantage to getting those things out into cold soil. So it's a weather-related thing, but having a greenhouse is cheating.
Oh, well, why not?
Why not?
Way back in the CKOV days, back in the day when we first did the garden show, we had at this time of year, we had a little contest. I thought I'd bring that back to light. Contest, okay? It's caller participation. You don't have to. I'm not demanding that you do this, but it'd be nice if you did participate a little bit. I heard my first flicker the other day.
Oh, yeah.
And we had not a contest, but just a fun thing where people would phone in and do their interpretation of a flicker.
Oh, yeah.
And mine is kind of no. Oh, anyway, I'm looking for. I used to be able to do a flicker just like I could fly away.
Yeah.
So if anybody,
the other flickers would come and bounce off the window.
I want to hear the best flicker interpretation before we close off today. I want to hear a flicker.
There you go.
Interpretation.
The challenge of the day.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
Okay, well, 250-862-2525. If you want to get in on this, we're here today to answer your gardening questions. And Ken, what do you think? I mean, do you think we've avoided a disaster by just having such a short period of cold weather, or do you think there's going to be some trouble out there?
I think we're going to see some damage, and it's just going to vary depending on the location, right? So, but I think people that are close to the lakes shouldn't see too many issues. Right. But, a lot of the orchards and whatnot that are up on the hills, I'm sure they're going to experience at least some problems.
Bud damage.
Yeah, just because we've had a look at a few buds with the magnifier, just looking at the buds. And the bud scales were starting to open prior to the cold snap.
Okay.
And, the bud scales that protect those buds on the tips and that protect the flowers and the tips of the stems and whatnot, they need to be tight, yep. And sealed up so that they prevent desiccation and frost, I'm sure, just from accessing those buds. And unfortunately,
We'll see.
We'll see what happens.
Well, remember back in the day when we had the greenhouses, it was back then it was called the Department of Agriculture, right? Mm-hmm. Now it's Ministry of Environment and blah, 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 whatever. But the Department of Agriculture would bring their samples in from various orchards and bring them in and have us put them in a glass of water and in the greenhouse and just
warm them up,
see what happens.
See what happens.
Are the buds opening? Are they not? Are they dead? Whatever. But that brings up a point right now. If you've got forsythia out there, if you've got plums,
prunus
species, flowering plums, that sort of thing.
And probably many of the fruit trees would naturally start to bloom. The apricots sure would.
Cut some branches off, bring them in the house,
put them in a vase.
Put them in a vase and warm them up, and they'll think it's spring, and bingo, you've got yourself a bouquet.
Yeah, beautiful. It's just lovely to see that. And I've never been really, I guess I haven't really tried hard enough. But I've been around it. I mean, in the flower shop days, I remember that the girls at the flower shop used to bring in branches, and we just put them in a big bucket there in the corner, and then as soon as they would start to bud, then they would start to use them in arrangements. Yeah,
pussy willows being one of them.
Pussy willows was probably the number one. Yeah, because everybody loves those.
And I know everybody's looking forward to my Pussy Willow song when the Pussy Willows start to open.
Yeah.
Because I always do that traditionally in the spring. I sing my Pussy Willow song.
Yeah. That's just preceding
the first line
onion
is,
song.
I know a little pussy. That's the first line, but I won't sing any more.
Yep. And the onion song follows
the
that.
Onion song and the onion song. Yeah. That's right. Dan used to play the onion song. Okay. Well, we're going to take our first break of the day, and we invite your calls, 250-862-2525. We've got some folks from the Greenery phoning in just after 9 o'clock. We've got Dan Bruce. He's going to phone in at 9:30 today.
8:30.
Or 8:30, not 9:30, 8:30 today, and talk to us about one of the Scottish botanists. And, there we go. It's going to be a red-hot show today, so stay tuned and give us a call when you get a chance. We will be back with more AM 1150 Garden. We are back with you on the AM 1150 Garden Show. For those of you who are new to the show, we've been at it since 1983. And Ken was...
I was in diapers.
Yeah, she was in diapers. But by the time he got to be 3 years old, he came on the show in 1986. Ken was 3.
I didn't quite have the knowledge that I do now.
Ken was 3 when he came on the show the first time. No,
I remember I cried a lot.
Yeah, that's right.
It was too scary.
Yeah, I had to change his diapers a couple of times. But anyway. No, we've been here a long time, and we've enjoyed every minute of it. It's fascinating. I was asked... I had a questionnaire given me not long ago. There's going to be a little write-up in the Garden Club newsletter, and they wanted to know a few things about me and where I came from and what I did. And, some of the questions were, what's your favorite gardening tool, and what got you into gardening in the first place, and one of them is what's the biggest change you've seen in gardening in your time, your lifetime? Well, there's two big ones for me, Ken. There's two big changes. One is the elimination of a lot of broad spectrum pesticides that were killing everything in the garden, and the elimination of those, and the introduction of is more of a mental thing. Like, why kill everything? Let's just let nature kind of take its course and help nature along a bit instead of squashing them, So there's that's a huge change, right? From when I was in my 20s to when I am now, right? And that gradually started taking place when I was in my 20s. It started taking place, and then as time went on, that accelerated, and it became exponential until we're at where we're at today, where it's a totally different mindset. Is what I was trying to find, the mindset, right? The second thing, of course, and I mean, you'll totally agree with this because you were part of that whole procedure and process, and that is the change that we've had from woody ornamentals, predominantly woody ornamentals in the gardens and the landscaping, to now where it's more predominantly herbaceous perennials. And you had a session on that last week,
last Wednesday,
herbaceous perennials, and that is a huge change because back in the day, I thought of perennials as being just and then there's the perennial department.
Almost like a novelty in a way.
Yeah,
but we know that in other countries, especially in Europe and England, that they were huge on perennials for hundreds of years and have done an amazing job with it. But there's definitely still that they've got a higher, I think, awareness and a higher knowledge base to start with about how to manage and to have a garden, and they know the work that goes into it. But in North America, it's just been changing and evolving, and I think people just love the variety now. So, and now we see that blend of shrubbery and perennials mixed together.
Right. And so we don't have so many shrubs that are going to overgrow and outgrow and cause huge root issues and that sort of thing. And perennials are more malleable. Like you can, I don't like that there. Move it.
Yeah, and that's part of the knowledge thing, right? Is that just knowing what you should do with herbaceous perennials. And that's why the class was particularly good last week, and we should be putting on another one of those classes coming up, a webinar. I'm thinking it'll be sometime in March. I just don't have a date on that quite yet, but good topic.
Well, before we just quickly before we go to the phone lines, we've got Eric waiting for us, and we want to talk to Eric.
Yep.
But I remember doing our seminars back in the day when I first started the Okanagan gardening series with the Okanagan College.
Yep.
And we would do them at the greenhouse at the garden center. You were participating in some of those. And the plants and flowers of the Okanagan was one of the topics. Plants and flowers of the Okanagan. 90% of the time spent that evening was on annuals. When I first started, 90% was talking about annuals.
Yeah.
Oh, and then there's perennials.
Yeah.
And
the world has changed.
How the world has changed.
Annuals are still good.
They're important.
And everything are beautiful, but they're just, people have really switched over to perennials.
They're important. But perennials are where it's at. Okay, let's talk to Eric. Good morning. Thanks for joining us, Eric.
Morning, Ken, Don. How's it going today?
Excellent.
Good, thanks.
I know, it's beautiful. I wish there was a big white today.
Ah, yes.
Is it good up there today?
I think so. But I don't like the crowds going up in the weekend, so I don't work. I go during the week, so I sort of take.
Are you a snowboarder, Eric?
I'm not bored yet, so I just ski.
I know. You're not bored yet. That's a good one. Okay.
I had to say it.
Yeah. Those darn borders.
Question regarding the stupid Virginia creepers. How and when is the best thing to get rid of them? Now or during the when it blooms or whatever? Or?
Well, how to get rid of them? Like totally get rid of them out of there?
All the way around the fence line. It must be them.
Yeah. Well, Ken?
Yeah.
Dig.
Well, yeah, and sometimes
the roots all of a sudden they're in the junipers as well. So you try to get right inside the junipers and keep on growing. The next year, I thought I got rid of them. And they're back again.
Yeah, those old woody ornamentals.
Any of the roots, of those Virginia creepers, they're a vine, and they actually will spread by roots.
Yeah, and then they climb around all the fence line, keep on going.
And they seed. And so what happens is as soon as they reach that height, about 3 or 4 feet off the ground, then they start to seed, and then those little berries they produce have seeds in them, and those seeds just grow like crazy, so they spread. They are fairly invasive. I'm always super cautious, and there's always a place for every plant. There's a place for it, but that's a plant that's really worn out its welcome in a lot of gardens for sure.
I know. Don't they have that on buildings and stuff? They just keep on growing up. They attach to the building.
Well, that's probably the Boston ivy, which is similar. It's a relative.
Cousin.
It's a cousin.
Oh yeah.
But these ones, I think, the way I would approach this is potentially maybe involving a pest control company, maybe, or somebody who manages weeds, and I'd treat them like a weed. But the first thing is just physical removal of everything, and then I would treat the bases, the stumps, because they'll have a decent-sized stump. You want to find those and isolate them, and then once you've got all the stuff off and you keep about a 6-inch high stump, then I would likely go back and actually drill and kill those. That's where you have a company.
The Killex work or the...
It might work, but probably Roundup is your best bet.
Yeah.
Look at Eric. Was that a volunteer, or did you plant it?
I don't know what happened to it. No idea. I don't know if it's Virginia creeper. It just creeps all over the place.
I know. Well, we've had a few poke up in our yard.
Yeah.
All volunteers. I haven't planted a Virginia creeper in my yard, so somebody around here has
going
one.
Round and round. They start out on the base and they keep on going.
Oh yeah. No.
Yeah, and
Whatever that is, I don't know. They creep everywhere.
They
what name it is, I don't know.
Yeah, they start as seedlings ultimately.
Okay, Eric, we're just going to be silly right now, but I want you to repeat after me.
Okay.
Parthenocissus.
Parthenocissus. The
Quinquefolia.
Quinquefolia.
That's the name of your Virginia creeper.
Ooh, how do you spell that?
Well, it's
That's
just
a good question.
yeah. Look it up. Look up Virginia creeper, and it'll give you the botanical name.
Okay.
But the cousin we talk about is Parthenocissus tricuspidata. Mm-hmm. And the beauty about these
ivy,
about these names, they
medicine
can
or something like that, or
pardon me.
Isn't that called like a medicine type of word?
Well, it's kind of Latinized, and that's medicine is the same way.
Yeah, pretty much.
So you think of the word cuspid in that
cuspid by tricuspidata, and cuspid meaning teeth.
Teeth, yeah.
And there's 3 teeth on the leaves, tricuspidata. So there you go.
Okay, yeah.
There you go.
That makes sense.
And Quinquefolia is 5 leaves. Quinquefolia. Anyway. We just thought we'd mess you up here this morning, Eric.
It's something I may look up later on. I don't know.
It's pretty interesting. Take care, man.
If you have any more questions, I'll let you know.
Okay,
awesome.
Thanks a lot.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, we're at the bottom of the hour, and what we're going to do is take a short break. I'm expecting to hear from Dan Bruce after the break, and we'll chat with him about the Scottish biologists that he's talking about, with a great event going on at a display going out at Fintry.
Yeah, the botanists.
Botanist. Yeah. Biologist, botanist. Yeah, sorry. Well, close. Eh?
They're close. It's part of the same thing. That's where I learned all my botany stuff was through biology, because it's part of it, right? I
read an article in the paper. I still read the paper, Ken. I read an article in the paper called... or about the fact that they're now going to start. Remember in biology in high school, we dissect frogs and stuff?
Yeah.
Cut them open?
Yep.
No more of that. They're going to be doing it electronically now. They're going to have electronic frogs, and they're going to take them apart. They don't want to hurt the frogs.
Well, it's kind of a gross thing anyway. Like, I don't know how.
Why are you teaching kids to cut frogs apart? Anyway, we'll just...
or have a video or something.
Yeah,
watch it. And then
goodness. Yeah. Well, it is nice. It's nice to know what's inside, but that's what really made me not want to be a doctor. I was going to be a doctor when I was young. I was going to go into medicine.
Till that frog incident.
Till I start seeing the insides of things, and I just thought, no, sorry. Plants are way more friendly. Oh, yeah. They don't have eyes to look at you while you're cutting them.
Well, yours do.
Mine do. I know. I put googly eyes on mine. But anyway, we're going to take a short break. And we'll be back with more AM 1150 Garden Show. We are back with you, and as promised, and we don't go back on our promises. We have Dan Bruce joining us this morning. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning, Don and Ken.
Good morning, Dan.
And so what do you got up your sleeve this morning? We ended up, I know somebody just about got killed the last time we...
Yeah, it was a tragic story.
Well, we were talking about George Forrest and his numerous expeditions to China. And but last week we did divert to Okanagan Mission to honor our old friend Alistair Beddy, which is good. But I thought we'd just return briefly to George Forrest. People may not quite understand what's involved in collecting plants. It's not simply a walk in the woods. Where we left poor old George was he was being pursued through the mountains of Tibet by Tibetan lamas and their Tibetan Mastiff dogs. They wanted to kill him, and they came so close.
I've been thinking about that ever since you told me that.
Nowadays, the lamas of Tibet sort of have an aura of calm, peaceful meditation about them, but that was not always the case. There were some French missionaries in that area, and the tortures they put those guys through were, I'm not going to go into them on the air. They're absolutely sickening.
No, that's right.
However, George Forrest got away. He was assisted by local Lisu tribes people.
But what were they upset about? Like stealing their plants, or
no?
What?
It was they were just anti-foreign anything at all.
Okay. I got you.
And the real root causes of all of that, I mean, that's a whole long story. But anyway, George Forrest did survive incredibly, because getting away from hunting dogs is not an easy thing.
No.
He was rescued by Chinese troops, and when he got it all put back together, made yet another expedition to that area. He had to organize the actual collecting of seed, the collecting of dried plant specimens in order to identify the species. These needed to be preserved in sort of damp, steamy, hot conditions, and then prepared for shipment back to England. And in those days, it wasn't Amazon with its drones. It wasn't FedEx. It was the Royal Navy who took their time getting across the Indian Ocean and around up through the Atlantic. So this was not an easily done thing. In 1935, the Scottish Rock Garden Club published a short account of Forrest's life. He died in China in 1932, and he lies buried in China. In 1973, the Scottish Rock Garden Club republished the book in his honor. And I'd just like to read a little snippet out of it that maybe gives you a kind of a vignette on what Forrest was like. And it says, with innate sympathy, Forrest brought his medical knowledge to the benefit of these people in Western China. Apart from treatment of everyday complaints, he imported lymph for the inoculation of thousands of people against that dread plague of the East, smallpox. He gave time and money to alleviate their sufferings in time of flood and famine, and his understanding and sympathy and help not only enabled him to reap his harvest of treasure in the field of plants, birds, mammals, and insects, but also won for him the respect and influence among all classes in Western China.
And that's it?
That is just a paragraph out of the book.
But that's pretty darn cool. And you're saying that he wasn't just interested in plants, but he was interested in birds and animals and other fauna.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, he looked at the whole picture.
Life.
And this was not a one-way street. He didn't go over there and rip off everything. He gave back.
Yeah, he seemed to embrace the whole Chinese society and that sort of thing too, right?
When you consider that he grew up in Scotland, he'd had a brief visit to Australia and had set foot in South Africa, but that was about it. And yet this young fellow ended up in China and, as they say, gained a high degree of proficiency in Chinese, a notoriously difficult language.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Now, did he get them to wear kilts?
They were probably wearing them already.
yeah, a sort of a fashion of a kilt. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, Dan, this is very cool. So now, just to go back, he was born in Scotland.
Yes.
But he didn't, like a lot of the botanists, he didn't go on any particular ship like some did with Cook and Vancouver and that sort of thing, right?
No, he didn't do that. That was usually happened earlier in the whole history of the thing. Forrest was actually sent to China specifically by people in England who were in the nursery business.
Ah, right.
And the demand for plants was extreme.
Well, this is still going on, though. I mean, there are, businesses that are saying, please go and find us some new plants, because we get new plants showing up all the time as tropical indoor plants and even outdoor plants. So that similar thing must be going on.
Well, it is, and our friend Mark Flanagan,
yes,
whom you remember,
yes,
he went on 2 occasions. He went to northern Japan and to Korea. Mm-hmm. He got very, very close to. He didn't go into northern Korea, but he got right up to the border, as close as it was safe to be. And then he also went to Sakhalin in Russia. Mm-hmm. You'll notice if you look at the map, these are all quite northern climates. Mm-hmm. And George Forrest was in China, but he was right in the south. So a lot of the material that George Forrest collected would not be hardy here.
Or even in England, maybe.
Or even in England.
Yeah.
But the value of the stuff that he collected was the fact that they could then use that to hybridize rhododendrons specifically. Mm-hmm. And most of the hundreds of varieties of rhododendron that are available in the nursery trade worldwide today have in their ancestry plants that George Forrest collected.
Wow. That's really interesting. What about camellias? Was he into that at all?
I don't associate his name with them, particularly. But the camellia will, of course, appear later in our series of programs with the name of Robert Fortune. And the camellia in question is a economically vitally important plant because that is the tea.
Yeah, I know. I'm so fascinated with that. You know, I didn't know that tea, orange Pico tea, which is a grade of tea, not a type of tea, came from China. Well, I kind of knew all the tea in China and all that stuff. I heard about that. But I didn't know it was a camellia.
Yes.
Until maybe a few years ago when I was speaking at a Master Gardeners conference, and the lady that was speaking the same event, was a camellia expert that was on her way to China for the annual big camellia conference, and she's the one that started talking about the tea, and I went, oh, there you go, I learned something, and that was only 5 years ago. I didn't know that.
Well,
yeah,
perfect. Always learning.
Never too late to figure stuff out.
Oh, no, it isn't. Dan,
absolutely.
Thank you so much for calling in this morning. And I think that earlier time slot works well for us because that way we're not pressed against the 9 o'clock bell, right?
Seems
We appreciate these sessions because it enlightens us to the fact that there are many, many people with the same kind of passion that you and Ken and I have for gardening and for plants and whatever, and at a whole different level, of course. But we appreciate your call in.
Well, that's you're very welcome, and don't forget that info@fintry.ca will get to me, and if people have questions they want to ask, that's the way to do it.
Perfect. info@fintry.ca. There you go. Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Dan. Have a good day.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Yep. Bye-bye.
And there you have it. There you have it. Another
Those stories sound a lot more like James Bond than they do like
these guys, like you said, this is not for the faint of heart.
No, it was pretty scary. Yeah,
half of these guys almost got killed. Some of them did.
Well, just to travel, like when we were talking about in the past, some of the other explorers, and they would have to go. You know, they were on the east side of North America, so they wanted to get to the west side, so they had to go all the way down,
around the horn,
South America, and all the way up the other side, which would take maybe, I don't know, could have taken a year to do that. And then by the time they got there, then they would do their work and everything, and then continue on. It's hard to understand. I'm sure.
Yeah, from 12 to 14 hours, you can fly to Australia.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to take a short break. We're going to take a short break on a beautiful Saturday morning. Mm-hmm. We're opening the lines up for you. Give us a call, 250-862-2525 to get through to Ken and I, and we'll be back with more AM 1150 Garden. Well, that was very interesting. Dan Bruce, he brings along some very food for thought. All these fellows that contributed to our beautiful industry and our wonderful plant hobby over the years, these botanists and biologists and plant hunters.
Yeah, the history is amazing. It's just unbelievable.
Our good friend, and I call him a good friend because we are going to hook up with him, Tommy Clarkson down in Mexico. I was just talking to him the other night. We're going to hook up with him again. He is asking me again, to the moment this COVID thing gets out of the way, to come down to Mexico and go out on a plant hunting trip into the backwoods of Mexico. Ooh. Hello, there we are. I'm just like one of these guys. I mean,
these explorers.
I could change my name, to George Forrest.
There you go.
But I wouldn't want to get killed by a bunch of dogs or chased even.
No, you wouldn't be really good at outrunning them.
Why do you say that, Ken?
I'm just saying. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Oh, my goodness. Well, for 10 feet, I could.
Yeah, well, me too. Yeah,
I could run hard for 10 feet.
Yeah. So that's why keep your car close. That's what I do. For sure.
Whoa, what
just
a beautiful...
Get back into the car.
I know.
Lock the door, roll up the windows. That's just for the mosquitoes.
Hey, that sounds like my bear story, which we'll tell one of these days. But mind you, nobody's calling in, so why not talk about the bear story? It was on our honeymoon. Donna and I were on a honeymoon, and we one of the last places we stopped, we went camping on our honeymoon. Like, we had a tent. We went from lake to lake, fly fishing. It was a great time. It was wonderful memories. I don't have too many pictures of it. A few pictures, but not too many. Anyway, we went to a lake called Peter Hope Lake, and we went to the office, and the fellow there, I said, so what are the fish like? That's always the first question. Are they biting, and how big are they? That's that's what you ask when you go to a fishing lake, right? Right. So he goes to the freezer and he pulls this. I swear, it was about 3 feet long. This fish, right?
Yeah.
And I'd swear it had no eyes. It was so freezer burned. I'd swear it had been in the freezer for 20 years. And he brought this frozen fish out to show us how big the fish were in the lake, right? He said, they can get as big as this, right? Maybe so 20 years ago when this one was caught. Now it's a frozen mummy.
Maybe you went down to the coast and picked it up.
Yeah. So anyway, he said, great, he's camping. And we were the only ones there. We were the only ones in the lake and it was our wedding was July 14th, so it was probably July 20th or 25th or something like that. And so we went out to the campsite and set up the tent, got it on everything. And he said, just there is a Salvail that kind of comes around. It's a camp bear, garbage bear. And, so don't leave anything out garbage-wise and food-wise. Just don't take it into the tent for sure. And okay, so anyway, we had our cooler there full of food, and I just put it up against a tree outside. And so anyway, we went fishing that day, and we came back. We had a couple of little fish and cooked them up for no, actually, we didn't cook them up. Their dog, the camp dog, ate the 2 fish that we caught. Oh. So we get...
What was worse, the camp dog or the camp bear?
Well, I'll tell you, Ken, the dog was friendly. It just ate our fish. But the bear, here we are. We're just getting to sleep. We're just starting to get that...
Yep.
Right? And we hear this noise outside the tent. The bear is kicking our cooler around. And obviously got whatever was in the cooler. And then it started coming right up to the tent, and you could see the nose of the bear right on the tent. Well, short story, quick story, because we've got a caller coming in, and I don't want to waste their time. Quick story was, Donna, once I scared the bear with this my lantern, my Coleman lantern, fired it up, put it outside the wall there, and Donna handed me my little knife that we had. It was about 2 inches long, this knife. She later told me to cut our way out of the tent, out the back, so we could go out the back or whatever. That was her idea. I thought she wanted me to go out and kill the bear with this 3-inch knife, pocket knife. Anyway, so long story short, the fella came out. She ran and locked herself in our car. I'm out there with the bear. It's a great story. I'll finish it off because we got to go to the phone lines.
Yeah.
We can't be wasting people's time on this. Joan. Good morning, Joan. Yeah. Sorry about that story.
Good morning. Several years ago, I was at a garden place and saw a tree that I really loved seeing around town, so I bought it. It was on sale in the fall. Now, the tree is, it's like a froth of pink. I don't know the name of it. It's a big tree, or it can get big. Anyway, years later, it's in the wrong place, and it needs to be moved. Is there any chance of it surviving if I move it now?
What size of trunk is it, like at the base? How big is the trunk in diameter?
I can't get in there to see it, but I'm going to say it's likely 3 inches across, maybe 4. I don't know.
It could be definitely dug with a spade, a tree spade.
Yeah.
At that size, and yes,
as long as you can access it, drive up to it.
You've got to be able to drive up to it with a tree spade. The other thing is, if you can get access to the root ball, like in other words, an area of perhaps on a tree that size, you'd want to have about 3 feet in radius around the tree to work and get at that tree to dig it. I mean, it's all about the roots. You want to get as much root as you can with it, and intact as much as you can. It could be moved at that size. We'd moved lots of trees at 3 inches in diameter.
And timing is a factor too. It's easier to do it in the fall than it is in the spring, but you can still do it as long as the tree is dormant.
So now might be a good time.
Yeah, and it's a matter of, it's a lot of work. I mean, people, like we've moved lots of big trees and big machinery, all kinds of things, but it's just one of those things. There's a cost involved. Yep. It can be a few $1,000s to move a tree, so it's one of these things where it
has to be a valuable tree to you.
It has to be something that has that value.
Well, I think I paid $20, and it's still in the pot that I bought it in.
Oh, still in the pot?
Yes, I think it might have broken out of that pot.
Yeah, right.
Oh, my goodness.
It'd be interesting to know what type of tree it is and its worth.
Well, you'll know it when you see it. It's like it doesn't have leaves. It has like really long, soft needles.
Tamarisk.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Tamarisk? Is that the one that's a big froth of pink?
Yep.
Yes.
Tamarisk.
Oh, well, good.
Yep. There's 2 types. There's one that's Pentandra and one is Tetandra. The summer blooming one is my favorite. We're going to have to, Joan, we do appreciate your call, as we appreciate all callers, and we will going to have to, though, break for the news.
Okay, well, thanks for the help, and you'll be out when?
Thank you, dear. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Thanks for calling.
Thanks a lot. And we're going to break now for the 9 o'clock, and we'll be back with more AM 1150 Garden. Well, here we are back on a beautiful Saturday morning. And I'm saying beautiful. I mean it this time. I'm not lying. This is for sure.
Not like last week.
Not like last week. I was saying a beautiful day, but it was awful. But, but as promised, we have some folks from the greenery. Not just folks, though. We've got Kirsten for sure. Good morning, Kirsten.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
And Tel is on there too. I don't know if Tel is connected, but anyway, if he's listening, hello, Tel.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Hey, Tel. You know what an icon. We've just been talking about all these different botanists and biologists and whatnot. Significant Scottish, and I know you're not Scottish. Maybe you got some roots there, but The fact is, we're talking about Scottish botanists. We have got a big display out at Fintry on Scottish botanists, and traveling around the world getting plants. Well, you're kind of one of them, Tel. I mean, you're not Scottish, but you were out there. Used to kind of bug me sometimes when you'd bring on these new plants, and Burnett's would be floating along with their petunias and their whatever, and all of a sudden you got these weird things going on. Well, where'd you get it? Oh, I got it at the greenery. Okay. So you've been traveling around the world getting these things, and kudos on you, man. Good job over the years.
Thank you. Well, we traveled a lot to Europe, and picked up stuff there at the time,
Now, did you legally bring it in, or did you, I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot here.
No, I had a lot of socks and underwear and stuff like that, and so that's all I say.
Yeah, okay. And that's all you have to say about that. That's good. Yeah, well, Kirsten, you got the thing rolling this year early, relatively early, but as you said to me off air, that it's kind of the same weekend, but it's just the way the calendar lands. So you're opening up next Friday?
That is correct, yeah. Friday, February 26th, 9:30 to 5.
9:30 to 5, and I said 9 o'clock earlier, and so there's going to be a whole whack of people there waiting by the gate at 9 o'clock.
They'll be there anyways. We're going to have to open that gate real early. All the plant collectors are coming. So
I know. It's so exciting, very exciting. Mm-hmm. And, it's fascinating. Every garden center I've spoken to, whether it's here or in Vancouver or Chilliwack or wherever, they're all saying that last year was very different. There was a very much increased interest in certain areas in the horticulture and plants, and they all had decent, almost stellar years because people staying at home, doing their thing, keeping safe, felt that let's do some gardening. And Ken and I have noticed that too.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely true. I mean, with the edibles early on in the season, it was just a huge sales increase in that end for sure. Yeah. We may have been affected a bit during the busy portion with lineups and so forth. So we've made changes to help improve that this year.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Well, and I noticed back in December, like people think, and they used to think that with us too when we had our garden center and greenhouse operation. They think that, like March 1st, we bring everybody in and here we are, bingo, like a magic wand, everything is there. No, you guys have been cooking for quite a while here.
We sure have, yeah. Our growing season starts end of May for the next season, so it's quite a long haul. Tropicals and succulents now, a lot of them are slow crops, so we start them very early.
Yeah, that's just really good. And you've always been really good at scheduling and getting things out when they need to be out. And your selection has always been great. I know Donna and I enjoy coming in and browsing around the store. There's always something new, and it's great.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, what are some of the things that we can look forward to next week?
Well, mainly to do with the house plants initially. I mean, that's a huge expansion we've done. So we're opening one extra greenhouse for opening day just to accommodate extra tropical sales. So that'll be, that's very important. I mean, there's going to be a lot of people that are coming in to get all the rare and unusual things. So we're able to collect and grow and propagate these items for half a year and have the full selection available all at once. So a little bit different than, if you're open year-round. You only can sort of get in certain items at certain times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what a great change that was when you went to that program. And just for fun, just for historical stuff here, when you first opened on Rutland Road, and you grew poinsettias, did you not?
Oh yeah, we grew over 12,000 poinsettias, and also coming back to tropicals, we were big in tropicals at the time. Mm-hmm. But then it died right out completely. Mm-hmm. But I still remember us hanging stuff in different restaurants and, Earls and so on had our tropical plants and things like that. So it was quite different times in those things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so there's a resurgence of that, which is great. The thing I liked about going to the greenery too is you've got a lot of the plants marked, named properly. So a lot of those succulents that I picked up are properly named, which is really cool.
Yeah, well, and working on improving that. I mean, that's a lot of extra work. Having to basically have to print all the tags. There's not a lot of picture tags available on the market. But yeah, that is definitely a goal because then people can just Google the name and get the information they need from it. It makes it just way easier. Less questions for us that we have to answer.
Yeah,
perfect.
There you go. Well, guys, it's really been great having you come on this morning. We'll have to do it again as time goes through the spring, and give us a call, and we'll organize a get-together here because it really has been great for us. We've appreciated your services over the years, and good luck on your opening.
Well, thank you very much for having us on.
Yeah, thank you.
You're very welcome. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Yeah,
there you go.
Kirsten from the Greenery. That was very nice. That was very nice. A nice visit, and we'll talk to other garden centers too. But
it's very exciting.
The Greenery is very unique. Very unique. Yep.
Yeah, and they've just got such a wide selection of all kinds of things.
Pretty amazing.
And you got to get there when the opportunity arises. So I'm sure there'll be a lineup, and it'll be sure worth it.
Well, I must say, if I was 30 years old again, which I'm not. I won't be. I can't be. But if I was
down there sleeping there the night before?
No. I'd change my whole outlook on how to manage a garden center greenhouse operation.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I would close down at the end of June.
Yep.
I would close down at the end of June because now they have hands are problem free. Like Tel was saying, and Kirsten was saying, they grow right through. From May through
focus
to
on
now,
propagation,
because as I was saying, I drove by in December, and the parking, not the parking lot, but the staff parking was full.
Oh yeah,
they weren't just keeping somebody there, keeping the heat on.
That's with it. I think with a lot of people who grow plants, they're growing year round, and they're battling to get things ready for spring, and here we are in Canada. It's a challenge because of the temperatures, right?
Yep.
And so we have to fight through the cold. In these tropicals, they really don't like the cold. So that'll be the challenge, as I've mentioned many times, and on some of the webinars we put on for tropicals, we've mentioned about getting the plant from the store into the car relatively quickly without freezing that poor plant, which really doesn't even like to get close to the freezing point.
That's right. Shiver my timbers. We got Renee coming on right now to tell us about Seedy Sunday coming up.
Oh, yes, right. Hey, Renee.
Hello. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
How are you guys?
We are, stellar on a day like this. How could you complain? You can't complain.
I know. It's beautiful out there. Mm-hmm. So, I'm calling again about our Seedy Sunday event that we're having on March 14th.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yes.
Give us the details on how to participate, because it's way different this year, but it's very easy. It's easy to do.
It is, actually. You can visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/Kelowna CD Sunday, and you'll see a Survey Monkey link. You click on that, you click the seeds that you want. You have to enter your contact information on this page. When you're done, click done. It will take you to Eventbrite. You have to add your contact information again, select a pickup time, and you will receive a confirmation email, and away you go.
Right, and the new location this year.
Yes, it is at Kinsman Field House on Gordon Drive.
Right, which is right almost directly behind the H2O Center. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easy access.
It is. And March 7th is the last day to order any seeds.
Okay, so we better get on it.
Yes. Hop on it.
Yep.
And we do have an email for anyone that has any questions about it.
And that
It
is?
is KelownaCDSunday@gmail.com.
It's an easy one.
Yeah.
It is very easy.
Yeah, KelownaCDSunday@gmail.com.
Yes.
And to get more information, you go to Facebook.
Facebook.com.
Yep.
/Kelowna CD Sunday.
Kelowna CD Sunday.
Yep.
There you go. And Renee, we appreciate that because it is a fabulous event and has been over the years. It's a bit changed because of the COVID thing this year, but I know you're going to have participation.
We've had so far 108 orders as of Thursday.
Oh, good for you.
Nice.
Good for you. That is great.
We're very pleased.
Yeah, you bet. You bet. And we got a couple of weeks to go before the deadline, right?
Yep. And not till March 7th, so that gives, I think, 2 more weeks.
Yep. But get on it.
Exactly.
Renee, thank you so much for the call.
You are welcome. Have a great day, you guys.
You betcha. Take care.
All right. Thanks for calling.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. There you go.
That's Renee from the Kelowna. That's from Renee from the Master Gardeners Association.
Yes.
Master Gardeners are putting on. Okanagan Master Gardeners are putting that whole thing on. Fabulous event, and we highly recommend participating March the 7th. So go into those.
Well,
places.
March the 7th is the deadline.
Is the deadline.
That's the deadline.
To put your order in.
Yep.
Okay, well, we're going to take a short break here now and invite your calls, 250-862-2525. And we'll be back with more AM 1150 Garden. Now, I know you've been waiting for this. My genus of the week, Betula.
Yeah.
Betula, Ken. Betula.
Betula.
A betula can't do this. Betula
can.
is a birch. And a birch is a thin-leafed, deciduous hardwood tree of the genus Betula. In the family Betulaceae, which also includes alders, hazels, and hornbeams. Closely related to the beech oak family, Fagaceae, the genus Betula contains 30 to 60 known taxa, of which 11 are on the red list of threatened species. They are typically rather short-lived pioneer species, widespread in the northern hemisphere, particularly in northern areas of temperate climates and in boreal climates. There you have it, Betula, birch.
Yeah, the birch group. I'm really always searching for those ones that are resistant to the bronze birch borer.
Oh, yeah.
That's the key, and there are some. There's some out there. So just gotta be aware of that.
Yep. They are a pioneer tree, which means they don't live long.
Yep.
They live longer than us maybe, but they don't live long like an oak or...
the pioneer trees are the first ones to move in after a forest fire or something. So they're always these poplars, birches.
They die and all that stuff. We're going to go back to the phone lines, and we have Addie. Good morning, Addie. Nice to talk to you this morning.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
We're well.
Good, thanks. Yeah.
Okay. My amaryllis plants have all now finished blooming, but I've just noticed that the one that finished blooming at Christmas when it was supposed to is getting yellow leaves, and they're turning kind of slimy.
Ew.
What am I doing wrong?
Yeah. Might be starting to rot a little bit, but would you say that the plant has been allowed to dry out between waterings pretty well, or?
I think so. I mean, that was sort of the thing. This is the first time that's happened to me.
Right.
And out of the 5 that I've got, this is the first one, mind you. They've all been blooming since about the 15th of December. So the first one is now, the leaves are in place and everything. But one of the leaves is, like I say, one of them has turned yellow and turned slimy, and then I noticed another one is kind of turning yellow.
Yeah, I'd back the water right off, Addie. I just wouldn't water them anymore.
Not anymore?
No,
for a while, yeah.
Back off on the watering on those because they are a bulb, and what you've got, I think, is probably some root rot. You might want to tip them out of the pot and have a look at the root, make sure it's nice and white, but it probably won't be. It's probably brown and rotted. And, so just let it dry right out. Let the bulb kind of, the bulb's got that stored energy in there, and it probably will survive this thing. But the thing is, if you keep watering it at all, it's going to encourage the rot to keep going.
So do you think I should take them all out of the pot and transplant them into one great big pot when I put them out for the summer?
Not at this point. What you do there is the ones that have the the rot, if you put them all together in one big pot, they're all going to get rotted. So you want to treat the ones that are rotting by themselves, and you want to, like I say, tip them out of the pot, let the bulb dry right out, and just get rid of that rot, and then replant them. Amaryllis will go without water for a long time. I mean, Ken and I talk about the fact we used to have these amaryllis in these bins at the nursery, and all of a sudden you'd see one bloom coming out of the bin, no water, no pot, no anything, and the bloom's coming out, and it's healthy as a horse, So
okay,
yeah,
I guess I've just been trying to be too kind.
You are a kind lady. I know that. Because you know what? You were kind enough to give us some of the best pierogies that I have ever tasted in my life. In fact, I'm gonna. I don't know if you tell me when you're not home, I might come and raid your freezer.
Your pierogi
the
stash.
shed's not locked, eh? There isn't much left because springtime is when I start doing them again. But I will make sure to get you guys some.
Oh man, they were good.
My other question is my hyacinth is finished blooming as well. And I had put it into just a pot, the bulb pot that has just the water at the bottom. And now it's finished blooming. I'm going to cut off the bloom stem and cut off the white roots. So can I plant it into a pot?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily cut off. You could cut off the bloom stem, but I would leave the foliage and the white roots and plant it into a pot. Yes, nice, clean potting soil.
Okay, yeah, the roots are very long. They're probably about 8 inches long, so I'm going to cut some of them.
Cut some of them off, but don't be too aggressive with that. Those roots are important, eh? Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I'm just going to keep it as a house plant until it can go outside in the late spring when it's warm enough.
Yeah, and then you can plant them right in the garden and have them come up every year. Trying to reforce them again may not be the best way to do it. Have you? I don't. You're welcome, Maddie. Take care.
Have a nice weekend.
You too. Thanks for calling. Bye-bye.
Have you ever tried that, Ken? Reforcing twice? Have you forced a hyacinth twice?
You can do it, but it's a challenge. It's easier, I think, just to get either buy the pre-cooled ones that are already ready to go, or just develop your own system. One of the things we're trying this year is, Wendy's got a game plan, and as we have a lot of bulbs that shoot up every year, but every year they're kind of spotty, and we're not sure what colors where. So we've potted a bunch of the plants into pots, and right now they're in the garden shed, and they're cold and still dormant. Yeah. And the plan is to let them push up, and then just let them bloom like outside in the pots, and then when they're blooming is to go around and check around the yard and see what else is blooming and find good spots to put them. So with the hyacinths, they're kind of easier because they don't really get super big. I mean, the bulb gets big, but the plant stays small. And I just like to put them in areas where I can get close enough to them to smell the fragrance. So I'm lucky I have a little wall.
Yep.
It's about 3 or 4 feet high. And I can plant them along the top of that wall so I can just wander by at any time and just have a sniff because they are amazing.
You just remind me I got to do something, and I'll talk about it after we talk to Sharon. Good morning, Sharon.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm calling asking about any advice or tips you have for growing basil. I have a terrible time with it. Last summer I bought, probably 3 or 4 different plants and put them in bigger pots as they got a little bigger outside, and inevitably they don't seem to do well for me. Yeah. And I've got a click and grow machine now, which my husband bought me for Christmas.
Oh, nice.
Oh, it's lovely. And it came with 3 basil pods, which all 3 sprouted well, came up. They grew to about, one of them right now is probably almost 5 inches high. Anyway, nice. When it was when the plants are about 3 inches high, I took one of the pods, transplanted it into a pot. Well, guess what? Gone. Done. Died. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, and I'm just looking for some tips or recommendations on soil, or I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. I know they like lots of sun.
Exactly. I was just going to say they need lots and lots of light and sun shine. They live in the full sun in the summer, our basil pan. But I find they don't do all that well indoors. Now, Ken's going to carry on from that.
Yeah, well, having a grow light is really important. So, and I think that's part of the thing you have there. Is a grow light part of your...
The click and grow machine, yeah.
Yeah, it's got a grow light in it. So that you have to keep it very close to those plants, so very close to the foliage, so that it's getting the most intense light. And then a little bit of air movement is always nice. So often we'll have a little fan that we have that blows the air around a little bit. The air temperature is key. And so the thing with basil is it just does not like cold temperatures. It doesn't like a cold draft. It doesn't like it's the opposite of a lot of the herbs that we grow love cool temperatures, but basil is not like that. It's sort of low temperature would be probably just below room temperature. So sort of in that maybe say 65 degrees Fahrenheit. And then, but high temperatures, it loves it in that 75, 80 degree Fahrenheit. So, 27, 28, 29 degrees Celsius. Mm-hmm. That's where its sweet spot is. And that's where it really, really, takes off. But I would say initially it's all about light quality, and that's going to be number one. So with this unit that you have, I'm not sure how the quality of the light is, but we make up for quality by moving the light as close as we can to the top of the plant. So literally an inch or 2 away. And just keep them nice and warm. A heated pad underneath them is nice, too.
Oh, okay.
One thing, though, I want to remind you, too, they're very sensitive to root disease.
Okay.
And if they're stressed out because of lack of light and that sort of thing, they're more subject to some root disease issues. So clean potting soil. Most potting soils on the market are adequate, but you want clean potting soil. You want to have it pasteurized.
Not recycled.
Yeah. Not recycled. And, something a person can do, which is, a little bit over the top, but you can find a nice old cooking pot, like a turkey boiler pan, you cook a turkey in and whatnot.
Okay.
Put some soil in there that you get and heat it up to 160 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, 160 degrees Fahrenheit for 3 hours.
Okay.
Now, that will pasteurize the soil without killing the good stuff. And that's what we used to do with our cookers, right? 160 degrees Fahrenheit for 3 hours. Oh. And that will make sure there are no pathogens in that soil. Because, even purchased potting soil, if they say, well, it's pasteurized or sterilized or clean or whatever, you never know. I mean...
Well, maybe it was when it was packaged how many years ago.
That's right.
But it's hard to say if it's still would be.
So doing that for sensitive plants like brand new seedlings, like my onions, I should have maybe done that with my onions. Mm-hmm. Clean pots would have made sense too. And that's the other thing. Yeah. Clean pots, everything clean, because they are subject to root disease. Okay?
All right. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. Have a good day.
And you as well. We appreciate the call.
Thanks a lot. Bye
Thanks
now.
For calling. Bye-bye.
We're gonna take a short break here, and then we're going to talk to Ariel on line 2, and we'll do that when we come back with more AM 1150 Garden. Well, we are back with you on the AM 1150 Garden Show, and it is a gorgeous day out there. When I get home, here's what... Oh, well, first of all, we got to go to the phone lines because, that's what we do here. But after we talk to Ariel, I'm going to tell you a story. Oh, good morning, Ariel. Nice to have you with us.
Oh, it's always lovely to talk to you two wonderful people. I just wanted to make comments about basil. And it doesn't matter what I do, I can't kill my plants. I put it in water, I root off stuff, and then I give it to people around the complex, and the thing still grows. And I just want to tell you that I put it in the same places where my mason bees get. So it's on the eastern exposure. And underneath on the floor, there's the baseboard, water heaters. And I guess that's where it gets its heat from because it won't stop growing.
Yeah.
Well, Ariel, are you talking about like indoor growing, or are you talking once you get outside?
Oh, no, I'm talking about indoors. I'm talking about it's been growing since I took them in from the fall,
Well, there you go. Yeah.
And they just keep growing, and I give them away. I cut them and root them and give them away to more people, and the thing still keeps growing. It's in a little 4-inch pot, too.
Okay, now Sharon is now crying. She's so upset to hear this.
My secret is, what I think? I think, too, a couple of customers, tenants, have come back. Well, mine died. And I said, yeah? Did you only water it when it dried out and give it lots of water? Well, no, I watered it every other day or so. I said, that's not the way it grows. And I tell people to water it only when it's dry, because that's what I do. When it's dry and it starts to
Good girl. You know what you're doing.
That's the secret.
Yep.
That's right. So I thought I'd tell you that. And anyway, it's in an eastern exposed, southeastern down to south. My garden, my house. So
you bet.
Anyway, I just wanted to tell you that.
Thank you, Ariel. We appreciate it very much.
Okay.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for calling.
That's good. We forgot to mention the watering issue that's all to do with the root rot, isn't it?
Well, it can be, but I would say that all containerized plants, that's the secret, is that you'd never water them if they're already wet. Like you have to let the roots breathe oxygen. Yeah. And so when they're wet all the time, they tend to go rotten.
Hold back the urge to water.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Water when they're dry, and then soak them really good, and then let them use up that water, and then water them when they're dry again.
Here's what when you said, today I'm uncovering my hellebores.
Yep.
I said, okay, I'm going to uncover mine too. Leave the banana. The banana stays. I'm going to open up the door in my ficus, my fig plant. I'm going to open up the door, let the air in.
Greenhouse, yeah.
What I've done, Ken, I've got some perennials and bulbs and things that are in pots, right?
Yep.
Rather than leave them out in the cold, I built myself a soil bin in the backyard. Mm-hmm. And that big soil bin has the capacity to be able to put all my perennials that are in pots out there for the winter. So they got that. They think they're underground, but they're not. I'm fooling them. So now, today, I'm going to open up that lid and let the air in, and then when time comes, I'm going to start taking them out of there and placing them out so I can watch them grow, if they do. Some of them might not be alive, but that's another function today I'm going to do.
Yeah, it's a good thing to ventilate. That was always the thing we used to grow. Well, obviously, we had all kinds of greenhouses over the years, and most of our plants we were growing were sort of winter hardy plants. So they like to grow cold. So we were always trying to just optimize the temperature, and the greenhouses would get too hot for them. So we'd by probably 9 a.m. we'd have to open the doors on both ends of the greenhouses and be ventilating just to keep the temperatures sort of under that. You really don't want to go too warm, maybe above 10, 15 degrees Celsius for growing most outdoor perennial plants and that sort of thing. So yeah, it was always a challenge, and you just had to watch it like a hawk, and they would get overheated so fast. That was more of the issue. At night, of course, we just had to buffer the frost a bit, get it right down to freezing.
Ken, I just thought of something. It reminds me of my dad and my grandpa back in the days. Because when you broke out on your own and you said, okay, this is it, I'm on my own, and you started your greenhouse operation, it was pretty primitive at the beginning, quite primitive, because I remember you out there with wood stoves and trying to keep things warm.
Well,
Yeah.
If you had the money, you would just go and
just go all out. But no,
for it,
you started small and you grew, as they say. But it just reminds me of Dad and Grandpa back in the day before we got gas. We got gas in 1958, and that was a huge event for Dad. He didn't have to stay up all night with the fires and hire people. I remember he used to hire someone he'd call the fireman. And so I always thought the word fireman meant the guy that came to the greenhouse and slept there all night and actually eventually
kept the fire going.
Yeah, and Dad had one fireman there that liked a little bit of imbibing. In fact, he drank a little bit while he was there. What the heck? I'm here, I'm all night and whatever. But then he'd drink a little bit too much and things would get a little chilly out there because he'd forget to stoke the fires. And, yeah, all those stories. Great times. But it just reminded me when you talked about your early days in growing that. Now, there's no callers right now, which is fine.
Yep.
But in order to give some remaining time for callers that would like to call in and give us a question or two, we're going to take a short break, slightly early, and we'll be back. 250-862-2525 if you want to get through to us. We'll be back with more AM 1150 Garden. And we are back with you on the AM 1150 Garden Show. What a great day it is today, and we've had great callers, and we got another one. Linda. Good morning, Linda.
Good morning. My orange tree is in trouble, and I need to know what to do. It's in the house. I think it's got scale. It's dropping leaves, and there's a sticky coming off, and it's a little too big to put neem on all of the leaves with a cotton pad because it's about 6 feet tall and 4 or 5 feet wide.
Oh, it's a big one. Oh boy.
Yes, and it's about, I don't know, at least 40 years old.
Yeah. Well, once they it goes outside in the summer, does it, or?
Yes.
Yeah. So at this point, you just sort of get started on it. I haven't used any chemicals against the scale, but once you become, really, once you're looking at the plant really close up, you sort of start to identify what the problem is. It can be the spider mites, it can be the mealybugs, it's probably the scale.
Yeah,
and so
I think it is.
Yeah, and so then I start with a damp cloth, and I just start at the base of each branch, and I do one branch every day, sort of thing. And then I just start, and I will just rub that damp cloth even on the bark of the branch, and then I hit every little twig and every little leaf and everything, and I just sort of wipe the surfaces of everything.
Just with a damp cloth, not with neem oil?
No, because what we're trying to do is get rid of all the big scales. So they're very hard to see because they're so good at camouflaging, right?
Yes, they are.
But as you're just going along, you're just like, I'm just wiping all the surfaces of the bark. You don't have to even push very hard. You just kind of wipe it, and then these little scales peel off. And then you start to see them because you're getting quite intimate with the plant. You're right up close, and you're doing this thing. And then you start to identify those scale. And then once you start seeing them, then you just start knocking them off, because underneath each scale is a cluster of about 100 eggs that are ready to hatch. And so what we need to do is get those scales off the plant, and that's phase one. Then what happens is the little crawlers that because you're eliminating the all these eggs, you don't have new scale coming back, but there's always a few crawling around on the plant, and they're going to become scale later on. So the process continues on. So we do one branch at a time all the way around the whole tree, and when we get the whole thing done once, we've got this real heightened awareness, and we sort of start over again. And it just goes on and on. But once you can get it outside, then you've got the benefit of all the beneficial insects that are on your property. They'll come in and they'll help you control those scale insects, because they come and will eat some of those.
What insects like to eat scale?
Well, the wasps are one of the best.
Okay, well, I have lots of those.
Yeah, they get on them and they'll chomp down anything they can get their hands on. But there's several of these little flying insects.
Stuff that we can't even see.
Yeah.
Very tiny little things.
And they'll attack them. So when they're outside, you kind of have this, you got this invisible team helping you stay on top of it. But as soon as you bring them indoors, that team goes away, and now the temperatures are perfect for the scale, and they start to multiply, and away they go.
Linda, I want you to try something. And I mean, I've mentioned this a few times for scale over the years. It was told to me years ago, or at least I heard on the radio Brian Minter speaking, and he's talked about Wilson's horticultural oil. And I have recommended it over the years for many, many situations. I've used it myself. There seems to be very low phytotoxicity, if any. In other words, it's not toxic to the plant.
Is that a dab on?
No, it's you mix 4 tablespoons in a gallon. Now you want to take it outside on a mild day so that you can do it.
Yes.
Because you don't want to spray like that in the house.
No.
But if there's a day that comes 5 above, like today, you could take it outside, spray it with 4 tablespoons per gallon, horticultural oil, Wilson's horticultural oil. It's a high-grade horticultural oil, and it's not the dormant oil stuff that you buy for spraying your fruit trees outside. You want to get the high-grade stuff. And I've had pretty good success keeping that scale down with the horticultural oil. I experimented on I'll tell you another plant that gets scale quite a bit is the bay leaf plant. That's a scale magnet, and I've tried it on that, and it works. Except that when I got the scale under control, and then I left it out and froze the darn thing. So that doesn't help, does it?
No.
No.
Well, that would get rid of the scale.
Oh, there you go. But as Ken was saying, I've got a jacaranda. I've got a number of plants that in the greenhouse, and in particular last year I had the jacaranda in my workshop. It was loaded with aphids. It just got loaded.
Yeah.
Took it outside in the spring, and I took all the foliage off that was in there that had grown in the winter. I took all the foliage off. All the new foliage comes on, and not an aphid all summer long. Not a thing, because it's outside. It's got that team of beneficials working for you.
Well, it certainly loves it outside. It usually blooms early in the spring indoors, and then I put it out, and after it's been out a week or two, it breaks out in new blossoms and just loves being out there.
Oh, yeah.
And all winter we have to share the kitchen, but somebody had said, well, insecticidal soap would get the little scale that are wandering around, but that's not solving the whole problem.
Trounce is a little bit of a step up from just the soap. It's a combination of soap and pyrethrum.
And remember that the soaps are often more toxic to the plants than just about anything.
I know.
I think it's one of the more for the plants.
You've got to be very careful.
For humans, it's not as toxic, but for the plants, oh man, it burns them.
Which one is toxic for the plants?
The
soaps.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Well, it can be. I mean, it depends on what you're.
Insecticidal soap.
Yeah, insecticidal soaps. We've had phytotoxicity with that.
Really? Oh.
Yeah. But often it's because we maybe mix it a little bit too heavy or something.
Well, that horticultural oil, though, is better. If you're going to spray, that's the thing, is I like to work on the plants through the winter, and I know I can't always get them outside.
You're so intimate with the plants, Ken. You're
I want to see, and I want to get rid of all those females, with the eggs under them, and then when I do get a chance to move them out, well, then the horticultural oil comes out, if it's needed.
Okay, so I'll start with the damp cloth and rubbing all,
see what you can see.
The branches. There's a lot of branches, a lot of leaves, and obviously a lot of scale. So it's going to be a big job.
Yeah, it's like a hobby. It's a little added hobby.
I need one more.
Yeah, you need one more hobby. Well, I'll tell you, just on the last note before we go away, because the show's just about done for today. But Linda, you've got a plant there that obviously you've had for a number of years. Did you grow it from seed, or did you have it as a young plant?
I grew it from a seed that I found in an orange 45 years ago.
Well, it's part of the family. So work on it. Don't be, a lot of plants that we have, Ken and I would go,
just
see you, as they say on Kim's Convenience. See you, and out they go into the green bin.
Right.
But not something that's part of the family.
No, you've probably seen pictures of it online.
Yes. Good for you, Linda.
Thanks for your help. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Good luck.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, it's just wonderful, this plant business and how people enjoy their plants. And
plants are awesome.
Yeah.
I've been saying that for years.
I know.
I think it's just with the COVID thing, a lot of people staying at home and paying more attention and the heightened awareness and probably boredom sets in, and plants are great. And there's so many. So you can collect them.
I know.
You can
be a collector. You talk about a rock collector or a coin collector or a stamp collector. You can be a plant collector. But look at, I am so excited about coming up. Dawn and I have talked about this several times. We've got so many new plants that we planted last year that we have never looked in anticipation of joy coming up to spring. I know they won't all survive. I'm hoping the majority do, but
it's a pretty mild winter other than that one snap.
Little snap,
Yeah,
but there's other things too involved. There's other things involved too. I mean, soil conditions and whatnot. But we're excited. We're ready to roll here, and we're just about at the end of the show. And so maybe what we should do, are we that close? I guess we're that close. Let's do the tips and plants of the week. Well, my tip of the week is the greenery is opening for the season, 9:30 a.m. Friday, February the 26th. 9:30 a.m. Be there or be square. My plant of the week is the Phytophilus, the ivory palm, the Tagua nut palm. The Tagua nut is a brown nut about 3 centimeters in
smaller than a golf ball.
Yeah, and you can cut through it, and inside the nut is solid ivory-type material. It's hard, that you can carve, that you can do all sorts of stuff with.
Fascinating.
I'm going to do some stuff in the shop with the Tagua nut. Look it up and see what you think.
There you go.
I'm hoping to get some more of them because I'm having fun. Okay.
All right. I also have a tip and a plant as well, and my tip of the week is just to remind people, don't drive on tree roots. I see it actually all the time when people have to, sometimes they'll be moving or something and somebody have to drive up to the back door and they drive underneath the tree. Just don't do it. It really breaks those surface roots and causes disease, and it can be the end of the tree. So just leave the trees alone, give them a break, and especially not on the roots. And that's my plant tip. And my plant of the week was Monstera delosia Thai constellation, which is one of these rare house plants I think that people are hunting down and trying to get their hands on. And it's like a variegated leaf split philodendron, you could say. It's just sort of a unique and unusual variety. Hey, maybe they'll have some at the greenery next week. And remember that this Wednesday, we're having our composting seminar or webinar online. You just go to growercoach.com, click on the learning button up in the left corner, and you're good to go. You can select your seminars and go from there. That's my tips and plans for this week. Remember to check growercoach.com.
Thank you, Ken. And, I know some tree haters around here that actually look for trees. Yeah. And they get the biggest, heaviest 4x4 vehicle they can and drive over the roots.
Back and forth,
Tree haters.
I know a lot of bobcat operators that do that, actually.
Exactly. Shigo quote of the week is, many of the tree species that do well in cities got their genetic codes while growing in wet soils. Trees such as ash, plane trees, and red maples.
There you go.
We're going to see you next week with more AM 1150 Garden Show.